Hello and welcome. My name is Vex, and today we have another look at some Godforge news. This is a slightly old video. We've taken a little bit of a break from Godforge Reacts as the Friday leaks have sort of slowed down for the holiday season. But we were blessed with a new video that has tons and tons of info in it. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as I can. Just a heads up, just today, Friday, I don't know when exactly this video is going to go live, but just today we recorded a Fateless podcast. I was the guest for said podcast. That was super interesting and really fun and insightful. That will likely be released sometime early in the new year. So when that is released, I will link it down beneath in the description so that if you're watching this in the future, you can go watch that too. I promise it is not a 2-hour long video. They reined me in the whole time. I was thinking to myself, just shut up, just shut up, just shut up. Because, we're in a conversation with a bunch of different people trying to stay on topic. Anyway, back to this topic. This is a huge info dump about the Kojiki faction. So let's get into it.
Hey guys, this is Simon from Fateless. Today we've got one of the final videos of the year. It's basically that time of year when a lot of the team take a week or so break, recharge, enjoy some time with their friends and family, and then come back for next year for a massive push for basically the year of Godforge, right? It's going to be the year of the beta, the year of the launch, and all those things. So in this video, what I want to show you is some of the work we've been doing in our beautiful corner, which is basically a new map piece that has been put into
Beautiful
game,
corner
in build, and gives really a seal of quality over what we're looking for, any maps, any kind of in-engine shots going forward. I also want to show you some new 2D concepts that have come through, which are really interesting, and the way we're using our kind of like new free reign really over body types to really up the ante.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then I
don't know if I covered it in a previous video. They had talked about how they've made more body types but kept the same rigging and skeleton for said body types. This had been something I thought was like a red flag 6 months ago, where so many of the male characters were just the same male character with a different, cosmetic loincloth or something. It seems like they've really, really changed that with just more body types. Super interesting.
got a very cool 3D new one to show you as well, which looks absolutely sweet. So let's dive in. We've got Unryo here.
Oh, no. I don't care about cotton swat. Ew.
A rare character from the Kojiki faction. We're starting to really flesh out the Kojiki faction right now. And
jump scare.
oh, I love this faction so much. Honestly, I love this faction so much. This is such a cool...
So, wait. This is in Onryo, okay? So we have to look for fingerprints that look weird and fade very quickly, right? I love the patterns. This is very like sort of ukiyo-e on the Senjafura
vibe of a hero right here. On Ryu, as I say, a rare...
Obake. Oh, okay.
I was like, this has got to be a legendary. Like the
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Good.
I don't know. I don't remember what is the tell for Onryo.
It's almost got like the ring vibes, someone calling out the TV, that type of thing. But yeah, I love...
That'd be so cool if they did a skin for this character. Is this, it looks like rare. You can kind of see it down beneath his face. It says parentheses rare.
I love this kind of like spooky look. You got the claws coming through. I love, honestly, the colors and the patterns in the dress, or it's obviously not called a dress, but whatever these things are called, the robe type of thing. I love the kind of like vibes around. Maybe we could just tilt the head down, give her this kind of...
I don't believe, this is maybe me showing my ignorance, I don't believe that that's a kimono. That's, it's more of like, it looks more like one of the summer versions of it.
Stare.
I think it has a different name.
Really, really cool. So Onryo looking really great for the Kojiki here. We then had, interestingly, first version of, look, you've got free reign on body type. So let's change it up. So this is Ashigaru, who
Okay.
will also be in the Kojiki faction. Just a
Wait, did it?
first version
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Look, you've got free reign on body
Trying to catch
type.
the bottom
so
of
let's
it.
change it up. So this is
Common. This is a common.
Ashigaru, who will also be in the Kojiki faction. Just a common hero. So
And he says
like the standard bearer for the Kojiki faction. So we then looked at some of the mood boards that we were kind of working with, and we're like, well, hold on a minute. The body type is not fitting this dude. He's not.
Yeah, he looked too beefy.
Absolutely shredded ripped, okay? And we're thinking, look, I think we can change this up. So yeah, you know, the right sort of height and stuff like that was working, but there's absolutely no way he needed to be so shredded.
Maybe he's just, you know, he's out on the front lines, just like.
So yeah, again, we went back in and we're like, look, let's
Lift
now
an
use
iron.
the fact that our rigs can be adapted way more easily. As long as you keep the bone joint points in the same position, we can adapt stuff. So we were like, well, what could we do with the absolutely shredded male heroic rig here? Well, we can slim it
This is Orpheus.
right down. Just slim it right down. You know, shoulder points
He's a rare.
in the same place.
He's just built
It's not
different.
gonna affect us
Built
from a rigging
differently
point of
over
view,
here.
but it will give us a very different aesthetic. So
Wouldn't it be so funny? This joke only lands for like 10 people. If Orpheus had a skin where it was just his head and his whole body was gone.
we've taken that on board.
It's a,
And then
it's a
it's like,
Sandman Orpheus
Version
reference.
2 feels
Oh, that looks way better.
way closer to the final piece that we want. And this is
Oh, you can see the 3D as well.
now what we're trying to do with our art team. It's like we want diversity in character visuals.
Also,
okay,
hey,
as
mate.
much as we can without costing the absolute earth. Okay, and that's important as well. We have to be able to actually release this game. So there's a number of things we're doing here in terms of kit bashing. So there's pieces that we're using from other characters that we've already made, but they're not being used in the same way all the time. And so it's not just a reskin of a character we've made. They're all unique characters, but we're being just clever with some of the pieces that we've made.
I wonder if there
retexture
will
those
be
pieces anyway.
reskins.
So there's absolutely like zero chance you would know it's the same unless you watch this video, honestly. But we're now going to have Ashigaru here created in 3D, which will be quite fast because of all the reuse of stuff. And he will feel more like he should do in terms of his visual and his lore and that type of stuff. There's actually a really good example of us doing that, or I guess showcasing that in terms of what we could do with the giant rig as well. So it's like one rig,
Whoa.
but very... I mean, these are not characters from the game, by the way, but this was Dane just doing a drawing to say, look, one rig could
Not
feel
characters from the game, huh?
extremely different when you create the characters. And they're all going to be using the same rig.
I had an idea for a boss, and I didn't talk about it during the podcast, and I just remembered. So we'll talk about it at the end of the video.
Proportions, but
Somebody
they will
remind me, please.
look and feel very unique. Obviously, he's done like an alien dude here and all sorts, but it does give a really
It's
good
like maybe
kind of like profiling
Cyclops
of,
undead kind of.
why these kind of art leads are pushing in the way they are, because we can do some really cool stuff, honestly, just with the same initial designs. So really like that. Right, let me show you one more. No, I just went into like a 3D that's being made, which is Kate Sif here. So it's not one of our creatures. Michaela does our creature design, and she is absolutely phenomenal.
That looks so cool.
This was like the initial concepting that was done. And you can see here, just on day 2, this is day 2, basically molding clay. That's what I would say the kind of like block out phase is. And just starting to get the right shapes in place. Obviously, there's a whole bunch more to do.
I like
but
the
this
like
was an
effects
interesting one. I do
that
love
could,
it when the
that could come
creatures
on that.
start to come through as well. So yeah, Michaela doing a great job here. This was a new character that Mairead wanted to see, but might not make it into the game.
What
Anyway,
was that?
Look at one more concept, and then I'll show you a finished 3D. So this here
What?
is Volk Old Lack. Oh wow, I'm going to struggle with names. I'm going to tell you that now.
Sorry, there's a lot of info here. Portrait design, backdrop, unarmed, Archetype brawler, affinity, strength. That I think that is literally the first time I've seen an affinity be named. They've intentionally kept the names of the affinities close to their chest. And like we've mentioned it a couple times in the Discord. And they just like refuse to tell us the names of them. Maybe it's like not final, right? But that's interesting. Alliance also? There's an alliance. Oh, I think this had been alignment in an earlier version of the game, and people were confused as to what that might mean. So there could be benefits for being in a specific alliance versus faction, and alliances might cross faction. This is actually a ton of info. Bleed, vanish, lock skills, drain, despair, terrify. Whoa, what? This is crazy.
Heavily struggle with names for most of the rest of my life when it comes to what we're doing, because it's intense. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, let's go into the mood
We need a name pronunciation guide.
board here for Volkalak. So he's going to be in the Slavic faction, a brawler, a rare hero.
I like that they use Gen. They're first. They're first. Over here, just above Simon said, the first like reference they use is Gen Greymane. Here's another. I think it's also Gen. It's also a different Worgen. Magic the Gathering Werewolf. Heck yeah. For the Alliance.
Says here, inspired by Slavic mythology, where he embodies the figure of a werewolf or a shapeshifter associated with chaos, darkness, and wilderness. Known to transform under certain conditions, Volkalak.
So maybe he has
growls the
a like a
shadows,
normal
sowing
human
fear
form.
and confusion amongst his enemies. So pretty cool. We've got like some references around VFX that can be done.
Oh man, I wish I could see all of this.
This is
Oh yes, the lichen from Underworld. Heck yeah.
how we do a lot of our kind of like design mood boards, I guess. Just some like elements that we could call out. Basically doing that kit bashing thing, elements where we might be able to reuse some stuff that we've already done. And then there's just some like really cool vibes here around, you know, elements that we want to bring into the game. You can see the kind of like the shape shifting vibe. Obviously loads of different werewolf shots.
Is that a Kojiki?
That sort of thing.
Bloodborne? Oh yeah. Yeah, Van Helsing sort of like I guess maybe they're going for fashion from this.
Assets
Maybe he
that
doesn't
we already
transform.
have made or own that we might be able to reuse if we want to. Again, rares, uncommons, commons get probably a lot more reuse, whereas epics
it's
and
only a
legendaries
rare,
get a lot
yeah.
more just like one-off unique items. But again, you can see the sort of vibe that's being made here, and also some different like references that the team will use. This is actually Esther, but yeah, the references that are being used to try and create the vibe that we wanted. So it's very cool. So once the mood board has been done, then sort of move on to initial concepts in here. Again, we were like, do we want to go straight
Whoa.
werewolf, or is there going to be some sort of clothing as well, or like this jacket?
The faction symbol, and I noticed this in their notes, but it's like branded onto his chest.
Very, very cool. So Dane then jumps in. He's like, the coat and no coat versions are both pretty cool. Ultimately, I think the coat one works a bit better for the faction. I do like the layers though, with the white shirt. So yeah, just give us some feedback. So again, then Esther kind of comes up with a next version, just gives you the kind of like side profile as well, because it's going to be using the same rig that we're actually using for the satire.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
it's
right,
kind of like
right, right,
creature rig, but obviously from the front feels a bit more humanoid.
Check this out. I'm going to show you
I
how
don't
ordered this
actually care.
Again, bit more work, bit more kind of like referencing around some different elements that we can utilize.
Oh, Dracula's cape.
With some kit bashing notes here.
Whoa.
Dracula's cape, for example. But it's literally just like a small piece of it. That's the cleverness here. It just saves time. Arm guards, things like that. Viking pants, but you rip them up. Like it's just actually very clever. Blows my mind a lot of the time. And yeah, we end up with final design, which is really cool. So part of the Viraj faction here, which is like the Slavic based or those regions. Yeah, it's just kind of like this side profile jaw feel. Again, we're still deciding on whether we go for the kind of almost like the big overbite type of look or a bit more restrained. But
this is only from. I'm looking at the date of the image.
Very
Just keep
cool,
moving.
very different to what we've
Only
seen
halfway
so far. So I really like it. Often,
don't need to get
if
bogged
I see
down.
Come through, and there's a choice of A or B, and B feels like something we've not seen so far in our designs. I'm like, let's have B because I really like the idea of just diverse stuff. Last one I want to show you is a character you've seen before in 2D.
I think they're trying to maintain the same profile as the satyr, just because they're using the same rigging. So it's kind of got to be a little bit thinner, because the satyr I remember wasn't terribly hunched over. It didn't have like too much hair like down his back, you know.
Which was CRS, now produced in 3D. So I just want to remind you of 2D. Kind of like initial concept in here.
Oh, this lady,
which is very sweet. Again, this is a rare from the Norse faction. Again,
he forgot the Norse faction name.
I really like this idea. I'm going to keep showing you this because it's so clever the way the team are.
Maybe not, but he's talking about a bunch of different stuff.
Reusing assets from characters we've got. And sometimes it's so small, okay? So it's like, oh yeah, we can reuse this little piece here to create this. Different texture, different color. We can reuse some of this kind of like shoulder material here. We can reuse some of the crystals from Hell here,
oh, that's interesting.
and here.
The crystals.
It's just extremely cool. We can reuse this little bone thing from Artemis and put it here as a weapon. Like, very, very clever use of our assets that we've already got. And as I say, in a way that people would not really know. And then she's kind of put some of the different tattooing for the artist to just have reference to when we get to the 3D stage. So we then get to Olga taking this one on. And Olga kind of produces the initial block out here. And we start to get some colors in. Again, just kind of making sure the proportions are good.
Oh, I thought that was the character's name. That's the artist's name.
The general feel is right. Starts to do a lot of...
I was like, does Cirrus have like a real name?
Work on the face, which honestly is very cool. I do love this one. Again, for a rare
so it's like a
hero,
normal name for a fantasy game.
Detail. Start to get some of that color in.
You saying the profile is going to drive people insane? Or the reuse of assets, you mean?
And really starting to get the vibe right, front and back views here. Start to...
The reuse of... yeah.
Push things like this.
Yeah, he's saying that, like, people won't notice. There's definitely going to be people who notice. But, like, the people who notice and care enough about it to not like that should maybe do something else with their time.
The low poly, but now you start to really get a feel. Look at the vibe.
Maybe they should try to make a video game
from CRS. Honestly, when you'll see the finished model in a minute. When I saw the finished model, I literally said to the guys, maybe we should make her one of the starter heroes because I liked it so much. Like, it is really, really good vibe. And we end up, so obviously we go through things like low poly and a bake down, but we end up with this. Now, it's in a very cool kind of like dark setting and stuff like that. So we'll see it like this, I guess, sometimes in game. But yeah, just such a cool finished piece. Yeah,
it does look really good.
One of my favorite rares, at least, that we've seen. So
I like she's kind of got like frost bite happening like on her extremities.
Far. So look, let's boot up the game, and I just want to show you the beautiful corner. Okay, then here we go. I love that I get a build generated fresh every single day now, which we can kind of poke around with, see the changes that are coming through. There's still kind of like the way it works with our builds. There's a development arm, and then there's a live build kind of thing. We do have...
Oh, here's where we got the non-recover energy. So this might come from like dailies. Overflow energy that generates once the regular energy is full, and then regular energy that generates over time. Tourneys, events, reliquary, heroes, index, missions, quests.
By the way, our first test of being able to run the beta on iOS going on as well, which feels like it's a real positive test. So there's a program called Test Flight that you're able to download on stuff like iPads or iPhones. And I was literally playing Godforge on my personal iPhone yesterday. So that's a really good sign for when we do the beta release next year. So most of the stuff you've seen, there's nothing really new here. We've got, we have.
So I don't want to spend too much time talking about it here. This is probably a totally different video, but this imprint stuff was sort of loosely mentioned in one of the podcasts where, like, there might be a way for you to utilize a character's skills or something of a character that you don't want in something else. Like maybe the entire character you don't want to use, but something about that character can be used to make something else stronger, and not in like a nut +3, right? I've gotten 4 of the same character and I just merged them all into one. But like you use a specific character and like something specific to that character gets carried on. They've not really gone into too much detail at all, but it seemed like an interesting take on the, like, oh, I don't need these rares anymore. What can I do with them? And instead of just like offering them for food, you could use them to upgrade other characters that you do use or something like that.
Changed a bunch of stuff in the.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going with the banner style, similar to Watcher of Realms and like Star Rail and these type gachas. I think there's going to be that. So many of the creators that are a part of Fateless complain about raid, and they're like, oh, you can get a 25 times chance to get this character, but there's 600 legendaries, so like, good luck. You're still only like a super small percentage chance to get your character that you want after blowing 300 rolls or something. So like, I think the banner is the correct way. Sort of part sacrifice, upgrade, part mindset. Exactly. So like imagine if you could upgrade, like you upgrade Billy all the way. You don't need any more Billies. But instead of having a Billy that's on the side ready for food, you then feed that Billy into Nicole, and Nicole gets something of Billy's, or like maybe there's something for each character that can only be unlocked by doing those sorts of upgrades. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but it seems like they're trying to make use of characters that like aren't good, or I don't want to say aren't good, but like might fall out of use, or for particular people, or might not be meta or something like that. I don't know. It seems better than just like feeding them as food. So we'll see. We've talked about the different types of roles before.
In the back end of our system, so
they have fleshed this out a little bit more, but it's still a little bit too clunky.
What we had to do actually was make stuff work again, and stuff that
it'd be funny if when you summon with the hammer, from underneath it is like the legendary, but it's like squished.
Was already working.
It's a stupid joke.
Is all,
I'm sorry.
At the moment, just kind of like filler, but we do now have.
I think some of these are placeholder
like
names.
Skills in here.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're just starting to, instead of faking it, it's now real. And beforehand, it was kind of like that summon process was going to like a fake screenshot rather than an actual character which joins your roster. Whereas now, I just picked up a new Ramsey. and I've got an extra copy of Ramses, for example. So a bunch of things which were kind of just fake for the demo are now real in game. Equally, the ability to upgrade stuff.
What is that? Oh, that's their actual logo. That's a placeholder, so that's some other character. Or maybe like chicken or something.
You know, all of these things are now actually live. The skills have got like a detail section. It's not all fully like complete, but it's starting to get to a point where
I wonder what that like plus thing is here. It's like diamond shape. Oh, maybe that's like the skill tomes or whatever you use to upgrade skills.
You know, obviously where we need to get it to, we need it to work for a beta release. So there's a whole ton. There's probably something like 60 or 70 heroes that are done that are just not currently in this build, but they're in a different build. So it won't be long before you'll see like this just massively explode. But things like sorting are here. Filtering's not working yet, but sorting is done. So yeah, whole bunch of like little things which all take time, right? They all need to be fleshed out. We've got different campaign areas now. So I do need to apply a cheat code, and then I can unlock all the different campaign areas. So we do have maps now for most of these areas to some degree, but the Aru one you've seen a billion times at this point. Kojiki is the one where we've now done a bit more work. All of this is just obviously not right, but we haven't done the artwork for that yet.
Whoa.
And then this is really what I wanted to show you. So
looks actually pretty good.
That Damon has been doing is to take this new level, the Kojiki level, and optimize it for mobile. So I'm playing on PC, so it doesn't, my PC can handle.
Yeah, how is mobile going to handle all this fog?
Tons more than what I'm throwing at it right now. But on mobile, when we first had this level with, this kind of like rolling mist, particles coming off of here on the right, almost like petals falling in the wind over here, and moving lava, all that type of stuff is hardcore on your devices, right? So there was like a heat map for FPS concerns on mobile, and basically it was like white hot over the whole map. Damon has reconfigured and re-optimized the whole level so that it now run on devices which are a few years old and still feel very sweet. So
and not burn your hands while you're holding it.
If you start to look at the reason why we call this our beautiful corner is because it starts to encompass everything that we want to feel when we're playing this level. And what I'm saying there is immersion, for it to feel like it's the right environment for that type of enemy or boss or whatever it's going to be. All of the subtle type of lighting stuff that we're doing here, and ultimately obviously we can still play the game.
Immediately turns on 2 times and auto battle
and all that type of stuff, but it was more about design of level than being about the characters and their abilities at this point.
Holy God.
This is the type of thing that we're doing. It's going to break now because this one is currently busted. But I thought, why not show you the busted part as well? Basically, we just teleported to the wrong place. But all of the fighting still works. But this is the type of stuff that, honestly, this is why we're in this kind of like closed alpha stage internally right now, because we don't want you guys to experience this when we have a beta. So, we're kind of like working through all this stuff. But yeah, really, really fun. It's great to kind of get these different environments going, and I'm kind of.
Is the turn meter always those 5? It is. That's
when we get the beta out there. But that's.
Let me watch this. Oh, there's more dots.
But all of the fighting.
So the turn meter, when a character goes or gets slowed or sped up, they just swap positions. It doesn't show you like how far away everything else. I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know. I'm overthinking these.
I'm kind of psyched, honestly, for you guys testing it in the new year when we get the beta out there. But that's going to be it for this video. Bugs and all, I've been Simon from Fateless, and yeah, I will see you in the next.
Interesting. I really like the atmosphere. I think that's something that Star Rail kind of misses out on because of its art style. You don't get too heavy of an atmosphere vibe from it. It's just sort of like the location that you're fighting. And they're always like really good environments, but like there's no atmosphere. And depending on the music and the, effects, it could be pretty interesting here. And if this sort of, vision is carried on through all the different campaign and battle locations, even like the boss battles, it should be fine. Which reminds me of the boss battle. So, of course, when I'm gonna leave. I don't want to spoil what I said to them as my, oh hey, we always ask everybody what character they want to be in Godforge. I'm gonna leave that for the podcast. It's not what you might think, but I was talking a little bit about Epic the Musical because not a day goes by where I don't talk about that. And plus, I'm currently like making a bunch of art related to like fan art and stuff. Maybe at some point in the future I'll put that in a video and we'll talk about it. But regardless, so there's a song that's a part of the Odyssey. There's a chapter that's about book. I don't know what they're called. Where Odysseus needs to fight Charybdis. And it's this location that's in between the lair of Scylla and Ithaca. And it's this big, like, people portray it in different ways. It could be like a sea monster. It's traditionally just like a whirlpool. And Odysseus fights this whirlpool monster by holding on to like a stick or something, like a branch of a tree that's like almost getting sucked through the whirlpool. And eventually the whirlpool stops because Charybdis has sucked in enough water that it needs to spit the water out to breathe again, and that's how he gets free. He just, instead of like literally fighting it, he just holds out. And I was thinking, like, what game has there been a boss where you need to hold out? Like, I feel like it could get it could probably be like super boring, but like, what if there's just sort of this like ramping damage, and rather than trying to worry about survival and damage output, what if you just had like 4 characters and you try to just survive as long as you can and make it be like kind of difficult, and just see like how many waves or how many I guess there's something like that in Watcher of Realms. Not quite exactly. There's like waves of enemies. I was just thinking, like, if they're going for, myths and legends and things, that could be a good way to incorporate that boss fight where like you're just literally holding out. Maybe you have to be like super strong on healing or super strong on defenses and buffs. I don't know. And like not so much speed because you'd want to like cycle through turns faster. I don't know. I thought about that and I was gonna bring that up during the podcast, but totally forgot. And now saying it out loud, maybe I should have kept that in my head. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for watching. If you didn't know, we film these live most Fridays if there's info to talk about. Live in front of a studio audience on twitch.tv/vexinglive. You can come participate, talk while we go through the new info. Until next time, thanks for being here. Appreciate you.